guys, this is your captain speaking, and today we are going to be doing a trip where we are going to be flying the Clemson football team from Greenville, Spartanburg, South Carolina, down to New Orleans, Louisiana for the All-State Sugar Bowl as they face Alabama in round 3. And so we're going to be flying the Airbus A321 to transport the entire team, staff, trainers, equipment, everything. And we're going to be flying out. It's about 11 a.m. and we got some good skies, good weather for it. So it should be a good flight. Okay, so let's go ahead and get some things started here. Get ourselves some battery power going on, and get that up there, and get the main door open. Get the jetway hopefully extended. There we go. Perfect. Load up some passengers there. While we do that, let's tune in, get some weather information.
Rear airport information, Whiskey 1615 Zulu. Wind calm. Visibility greater than 20 miles. Sky conditions, no clouds below 20,000. Temperature 2.5. Altimeter 29902. ILS runway 4 in use. Landing and departing runway 4. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you at Whiskey.
Okay.
Rear.
There we go. All right. We will turn the no smoking lights on as well. Get some of these other lights going here. Everything looks good. So we're going to assume that passengers are loading up right now, filing in. And here at Greenville, there's only one main runway, although it is a long runway. It is almost 11,000 feet in length, which is more than we need to be able to take off.
November 9163, Juliet, request taxi for departure to the west with Whiskey. Cessna, November 9163, Juliet, taxi to and hold short of runway 4 via taxiway Alpha 3 Alpha. Contact tower on 120.1
let's get our
when
clearance.
Rear ground, orbit 2006, ready to copy IFR clearance to New Orleans. Orbit 2006 is cleared to New Orleans Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 7,000. Departure frequency is 118.8, squawk 4445.
Okay.
Orbit 2006, cleared to New Orleans Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 7,000. Departure on 118.8, squawk 4445. Orbit 2006, read back correct. Contact ground on 121.9.
Okay. So that is all set
Taxi
there.
and hold short runway 4. Using taxiway Alpha 3 Alpha. Cessna 63
Bring up
Juliet.
our quadrant here. Yeah, flaps look okay for right now. Don't need the speed brake on. Yep, I think everything there looks pretty good. Yeah, we'll leave the trim there. I think that'll be fine. Okay. Well, let's assume that we have loaded everybody up. So we can have the jetway. Go ahead and retract. We will close the main exit. We'll request our taxi clearance.
Rear ground, orbit 2006 with Whiskey, ready to taxi IFR. Orbit 2006, taxi to and hold short of runway 4 via taxiway Alpha 2 Alpha. Contact tower on 120.1 when ready.
And we'll
Taxi hold
acknowledge
short
that.
runway 4.
So it looks like we're going out down this way. Okay. All right. So we're good there. So I think we're going to go ahead and do our pushback. Got that little Cessna right there. It's a little baby airplane. Just coming out of the general aviation, that little Cessna. Everything is looking good so far. That's good there. Put the brakes on. And let's turn our beacon light on. We'll get the engines going. We'll set our speed as well for the climb out to about 180 knots. Okay, get the engines to stabilize. Everything is looking good. Got all of our lights going. Alright, let's begin our taxi. No. Oh. Nope. There it is. That's what I'm looking for. Looks like that Cessna already took off. It's nice pine trees all around the airport here.
Rear ground, orbit 3502, ready to copy. IFR clearance to Utica. Orbit 3502 is cleared to Utica Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain
it's Houston?
1000.
Or
departure frequency is
Oh, you took it? I have no idea where that
118.8,
is.
squawk 7541. Orbit 3502, clear to Utica Airport as filed. Fly runway heading, climb and maintain 1000. Departure on 118.8, squawk 7541. Orbit 3502, readback is correct. Contact ground on 121.9er when ready to taxi.
I'm going to get all the throttle on, so we're going to just use the takeoff on the throttles. We'll get a positive rate of climb, and then we'll turn on the complete autopilot and kind of go from there.
Rear ground, orbit 3502 with X-ray, ready to taxi IFR.
And then once we get airborne, we'll talk about the Sugar Bowl, we'll talk about the Rose Bowl, talk about predictions, strengths, weaknesses, and just the college football playoffs in general, and my particular problem with the way that it's currently structured.
Orbit 3502.
But we'll worry about that once we get through this here. That must be the Cessna that just took off from here. Okay. Tune to the tower here.
Rear tower, orbit 2006, ready for IFR departure. Runway
All
4.
passengers fasten their
Orbit
seatbelts.
2006, cleared for takeoff. Runway 4. Cleared for takeoff. Runway 4. Orbit 2006.
Get 1 degree of flaps down, or one tick there. Okay, and away we go. Rotate. Positive rate of climb.
Orbit 2006, contact rear departure on 118.8. Going to 118.8, orbit 2006. Rear departure, orbit 2006, is climbing through 2,700 for 7,000. Orbit 2006, rear departure, roger, altimeter 29902.
There we go.
Orbit 2006, turn right heading 065, resume on navigation, climb and maintain 7,000. Turn right heading 065, resume on navigation, climb and maintain 7,000. Orbit 2006.
Okay. Wasn't a bad takeoff. And this over to our localizer in just a minute. Aircraft looks good.
Rear approach, Beach November 2465, Whiskey, with you. Beach November 2465, Whiskey, rear approach, roger, altimeter 29902.
Okay, flaps are now up.
Orbit 2006, contact rear departure on 119.4. Going to 119.4, orbit 2006. Rear departure, orbit 2006
GPS.
is climbing through 5,300 for 7,000. Orbit 2006, rear departure, roger, altimeter
There's our
29902.
Out. 225. Everything's looking good. Flying to New Orleans to take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Should be good.
Orbit 2006, climb and maintain flight level 180. Climb and maintain flight level 180, orbit 2006.
Okay. Everything's looking good. I don't know what we're doing. It was a weird flight plan that they decided to give me. Or fly this way and then make a Yui. I don't know why that is. This is the default flight plan for FSX. That is super weird. Crazy weird. So it took off this way. We're going to come over here to this VOR and then make a Yui. I don't get it. Because we're trying to just get down to here. So it is what it is. That's weird. Make a really big turn right here.
Viper 794, contact rear approach on 120.6.
And here we go. We're going to make a Yui. Never done that before. Where are we at altitude-wise? Can almost turn off the landing lights here. Let's cross the 10,000. We can jack our speed up a little bit more too.
Orbit 2006, contact Atlanta Center on 135.35. Going to 135.35, orbit 2006. Atlanta Center, Pacifica 2955 with you. Pacifica 2955, Atlanta Center, roger. Atlanta Center, orbit 2006, is climbing through 10,400 for flight level 180. Orbit 2006, Atlanta Center, roger. Altimeter 29902.
Okay. As we make our
Orbit
little loop,
2006,
yeah,
turn
we're working
right
on it.
heading 275. Turn right heading 275. Orbit 2006.
good. Coming through 13,000 feet here.
Diner 55. Contact Atlanta Center on 133.15. Atlanta Center, orbit 7483 with you. Orbit 7483 with Atlanta Center, roger.
Okay. Turn the fasten seatbelt sign. Talk about the college football playoffs. We're going to talk about the individual games and the problems with the playoffs, in my opinion. So we've got number 1 Clemson, number 4 Alabama, we've got number 3 Georgia, and number 2 Oklahoma. Now, I would like to see, obviously, Clemson win. I don't think it's going to be as easy a path as people are saying. In fact, I would argue that Oklahoma drew the better seed. I think Alabama is a very good team, and here's the problem I have with the playoffs as it is right now. Do I agree that Alabama is a stronger team than Ohio State? What is yes.
Orbit 2006, turn left, heading 240, proceed on course.
But here's the thing. If Alabama's healthy, they're a stronger team than a healthy Ohio State. Okay? And Alabama has been plagued with the injury bug this year, and I get that. And while their strength of schedule was weak, they're still, a pretty dominant team. But here's the problem. If you were to say after the conference championship weekend, of which Alabama did not play, if the following week they had to go and play Clemson and Oklahoma had to play Georgia, I think that sets things up in a huge favor for Clemson, because they were much more healthy defensively than Alabama is, and I do think that Clemson's offense is more explosive than Alabama, and so it's a it's a double whammy there. The problem is the way that the playoffs are structured, and it's not even with the playoffs, it's just college football in general. You're not really selecting the best four. You're selecting the best 4 teams at the end of the year, but now you're going to give them a 1-month layoff. 1 month. That's unheard of in sports. Between, for not actually playing any games at all, let alone championships, national titles. And this 1 month layoff really benefits Alabama, because they've really had 5 weeks now off, because they didn't play in their SEC championship. And so now they have the ability to get healthy at positions like linebacker, which are going to then improve their chances when they go and they play Clemson. And this is why I personally am a big advocate for expanding. If you're going to have the playoffs, you need to expand it to 8 teams. Okay? And that's going to allow for 3 weeks worth of games. So teams are staying game fit, and you're not putting in this garbage of, we're going to, and I heard TV analysts on ESPN and Feinbaum Show and all this talking about, well, when Alabama gets healthy, I'm like, yeah, but are they really the best team at the end of the year? One of the 4 best teams at the end of the year, given the current state of the players' health? I'd argue maybe not. Maybe not. But you're looking ahead to saying, hey, well, if we give them an extra 4 or 5 weeks, then they'll get healthy and then they'll be a contender. And that's not really reflective of who the best teams are at the end of the regular season, in my opinion. And if you have an 8-team playoff, you can set criteria right away where Power 5 conference champions are automatically in. That removes a huge amount of debate, okay? The seeding can take place by the committee for those 5 teams. The other 3 can be at large, because I think it's unfair for these other group of 5 teams to have to basically they compete in Division 1, but yet they never have a chance to compete for a national title. And I think it should be a level play. Everybody should have an opportunity. And we've seen teams like Boise State when they had beat Oklahoma. I want to say it was in the Fiesta Bowl, I think, or Sugar Bowl. I can't remember which one.
Atlanta Center on 134.8.
Do some radio stuff here.
American Pacific 2887. Contact Atlanta Center on 127.5. Going to 134.8. Orbit 2006. Atlanta Center, orbit 2006, with you. Orbit 2006, Atlanta Center, roger, altimeter 2992. Orbit 2006, contact Atlanta Center on 127.5. 127.5 for orbit 2006. Beach 7 Deep Lima, you are 3.4 miles. Atlanta Center, orbit 2006, with you. Orbit 2006, Atlanta Center, roger.
So that's really my big problem, is just the nature of how college, and everybody always says, oh, well, it makes the regular season more important, and this, that, and the other thing. Okay, if that was the case, then nobody would care about watching the regular season of any other sport either. Regular season does matter in all the other sports as well, because it determines whether you can make it into the playoffs. Now the regular season matters. Now conference championship games matter. Right now, obviously, the past 2 years, conference championship games have not mattered, and Ohio State has been on the receiving and the giving end of that. You know, last year they didn't play in their conference championship. They made it in, got wrecked by Clemson. This year, they did play in their conference championship. They won it, and they still got left out for an Alabama who didn't play and didn't win their conference. Okay, there's a problem with that. I mean, what's the point of having the conference championships then? Uh-oh. We are going way too fast. Slow it down. There we go. Okay. Ooh. Sorry, everybody in the back. Little bit of problem there. It's going, cruising a little bit too fast. Okay. Don't want to have the entire football team crash in a plane. Okay. And everything is looking good here. Okay. Now that we have that set up on why my rationale behind expanding, it's primarily because they need to keep playing. Okay, when you look at the NFL, they finish the regular season, you have the wild card, so you have the teams that made the top seed, they get off. So if you expand it to like 10 or something like that, then it could be a benefit for like the top 2 seeds or something like that. I don't know. You can have the games being played up to, the first round of games played at the higher seeds home stadiums. Okay, that would be the way to do it. And then you can move the semifinals and the championship game to, quote, neutral site locations. And that would, I think it's just better for the game. I mean, it's not really, you're not getting a true representation of who the best teams are when they have a 1 month gap between playing and not. And as a former athlete myself, I can tell you, even you can practice as much as you want, but playing in games is what keeps you sharp. And and as a coach myself now, I know that when we have a lull in our schedule, and I coach soccer, then it drastically impacts the way that my players practice, because when they have a long break, they're not as motivated because they don't see the games on the horizon like they do when we're in the thick of a heavy schedule, and they're not also game ready. Okay, I see a drop off. Okay, with that, so that's my arguments against the current format. Now, do I like the idea of the playoffs more so than the BCS, which limited it to just 2 teams? Yes. But I also think that the committee needs to have more stringent guidelines instead of this subjective eye test garbage that they have. That's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion. Yeah, they claim they've got coaches and this, that, and the other thing, but ultimately, when records don't matter and championships don't matter, you're back into a similar scenario we have at the BCS, which was what this was supposed to, alleviate. And if anything, it's made it worse. So, give more strict criteria, and let the committee really focus more on seeding of those that qualify for the playoffs. Because honestly, if my team was the away team or the home team, okay, I can live with that, because at least I'm still in the playoffs and I earned my way in there. Versus right now you have this subjective eye test. Personally, I don't think Alabama earned their way in. Okay, they frolicked in because they look good, and I'm not saying they don't look good. I'm not saying they're a good team with that. And as a Clemson fan, I would have rather played Ohio State than I would Alabama in the semifinal. I'll admit that. I think Alabama is fundamentally a better team than Ohio State, and that was evident when you watched Ohio State play in the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin. JT Barrett looked terrible, and Wisconsin's defense looked terrible. I don't think either one of those teams is better than Alabama. But if you're looking at things on a merit base, Ohio State is what it should have been in. And they say that the mandate is to get the 4 best teams. Shouldn't it be the 4 most deserving teams to be in? That's how I kind of, view it. You got to earn your way into the playoffs. You can't just skate in based on, your past history or who you are. Scholastic athletes, or scholastic sports in general, are very unique compared to other sports because of the turnover that you have from year to year. Because you have players that are, graduating or moving on to bigger and better things. Versus at a professional level, you have, players under contracts. It's a totally different situation. And we can look at what Alabama did, 3-4 years ago. We can look at what Clemson did past couple of years ago. Ohio State, all these teams, those are great memories, but they have no bearing on the players right now and the teams that are assembled right now. So let's stop looking at what they did in the past to justify why they should be here right now. Okay, let's take them on the merits and put them in that way. Okay, now that being said, let's talk about the Sugar Bowl. Okay, I do think, even with Alabama healthy, I think it's going to be a close game. I do not see either team blowing the other out. I don't. I do agree it's going to be the Bama defense and the Clemson offense. That's going to be the deciding factor, kind of how it was last year. And we've got Kelly Bryant, and I've been skeptical of him, particularly in his passing game. Earlier in the season, I thought Hunter Johnson was a much better quarterback in that regard. And I still think that. I still think Hunter Johnson's better. However, I do still think Hunter Johnson, he has his moments of, really good reads and stuff, but he still has the inexperience there. Okay. But I will say Kelly Bryant has improved with his passing. Okay, we saw that in the ACC championship game. He hit his first 15 passes. My concern for Kelly Bryant is he's now moved up to another stage. How's he going to handle the pressure of playing against a disciplined Alabama defense? And we don't know what the health of the Bama defense, especially a linebacker, is going to be when it comes time to play the Sugar Bowl. I think that where Kelly Bryant and Clemson could run into some issues offensively is if Kelly Bryant is not able to read and pick up the blitz and find his hot routes to get out of those. Okay. I also think that he struggles with knowing when to throw the ball away. We've seen many times in games, he'll go into a scramble and he'll be outside of the pocket and he'll still just run straight out of bounds, like, and lose yards, rather than throw the ball away and keep those extra 3-4 yards. He's got to be more disciplined with that. Okay, because you need every single yard you can get against a defense like Alabama. Now, one of the things that I think Clemson's going to have to do, they're going to have to contain Jalen Hurts, and they're going to have to, similar game plan, they're going to have to make him throw the ball, okay? And it's going to be essential for the Clemson defensive line to mind the gaps there. And we've got a great defensive line. But Alabama's got some decent backs, and they have Jalen Hurts who can hurt you. We saw it last year in the championship game with that last TD run right before Clemson drove down the field with the 1 second left on the clock pass to Hunter Renfrow. You know, that's going to be something that Clemson's going to have to worry about. Okay, and we're also have to see Clemson was also banged up this year on the defensive side of the ball with injuries. I mean, we had like Ray McLeod playing at cornerback for a couple of games. So, you know, if we can get healthy as well, that's going to also make a difference. I do think Clemson's going to prevail, but I think it's going to be about a 3 or 4 point game. I do not see a touchdown separating these two teams. I think it's going to be less than a touchdown, and it's going to come down to who can take care of the ball and the ability to convert on third down. We saw last year that killed Alabama because they could not keep their defense off the field. And I mean, you could watch in that last drive, and even in the fourth quarter, the Alabama defense was gassed. And when you have to face 99 plays, we'll call it 98 because the last play of the game, which was the kneel down, doesn't really count, in my opinion, but whatever. They faced almost 100 plays defensively. That's insane. Okay? But that was all because they couldn't get off the field. They couldn't stay on the field offensively. And they couldn't convert. I think there was something like 2 for 15 on third down. So if Alabama can convert on third down, they have a very good chance of winning the game. Same thing with Clemson, you know. So I think that's going to be close. Now let's go over to the Rose Bowl, and that's between Oklahoma and Georgia. Sorry, Bulldog fans, you're going to lose this one. Oklahoma this is going to be a 2-score win. You know, I'd say it's at least a 10 to 14 point spread, in my opinion. Okay, I do not think that the Georgia defense is good enough to stop the Baker Mayfield offense, and I wonder if Jake Fromm, the quarterback for Georgia as a true freshman, is going to be able to handle the pressure of playing in a national semifinal. And I do think that the reason why they beat Auburn in the SEC championship, Auburn was severely beat up with the run of their schedule towards the end of the season. And I mean, they played 3 top 10 teams, and 2 of them were number 1 at the time in Georgia and Alabama. And they were, even in the Alabama game in the Iron Bowl, I mean, they were they didn't have any more running backs left. They were all getting hurt, and they didn't have their running backs at full strength. I do think Auburn is a better team than Georgia, but I think that the significant amount of injuries that they had is why they lost in the SEC championship. So I see Oklahoma as significantly better. I do question their defense, but I think that their offense is going to be able to generate more than enough points to offset the defensive play that you're going to see. And so then it comes down to, I think that Clemson Alabama is a toss-up, and I think Oklahoma is has the easiest path. I think they're gonna roll right through Georgia, and I think that the winner of the Clemson Alabama game will beat Oklahoma, because I don't think Oklahoma has faced a defense as good as the 2 that are present for Clemson and Alabama. I think Clemson and Alabama are the 2 best defenses in the country, and I think Baker Mayfield will have his hands full in trying to break down those defenses. And I think that Oklahoma defense is going to have a difficult time stopping either one of the offenses for Clemson or Alabama. So I like the winner of the Clemson-Alabama game to actually win the whole thing. So that's my thoughts on that. You can let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's take a look. Where are we at? Okay. So it looks like this is Atlanta, I think. Yep. So we got a little ways to go. So I'm not going to keep you guys much longer on this. So just sit back and enjoy the flight, and I'll pick you guys up when we get ready to make our final approach into New Orleans. Welcome back. We are beginning our final descent into New Orleans. So we are heading down to a flight of 1,500 feet right now. Pull up right here. We're just about ready to get into the Bravo airspace of the airport.
Orbit 2006, turn left heading 230. Turn left heading 230, orbit 2006.
And I believe, if I remember serves, we're landing on runway 28.
Orbit 2006, turn left heading 200. Turn left heading 200, orbit 2006.
Yeah, can get there perfectly. There we go. So yeah, we're coming right through here. Poof. So I've already turned the fasten seatbelt sign on, as well as we have the landing lights on. Water looks just absolutely gorgeous down here, doesn't it? Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, we're coming in. Let's pull this up. So yeah, we're going to come in this way. Yeah, we're coming in on, we've been given clearance. We're going to ILS runway 28. So that's 109.9 on the ILS. And as you can see down here, I have it already tuned in. So just about 3,800 feet. Those look like radio towers up ahead, don't they? Oh, it's going up 1,500 feet. Good grief. Let's hope we don't clip any of those. That would be unfortunate. And yes, if you can hear it, I have a cat on my flight. And we're almost at the 1,500 feet. Boy, that's close. That does not make me feel comfortable. Yikes. That is low. That's the city right there.
2006, you are 19 miles east, turn right, heading 255, climb and maintain 1,500. Cleared ILS. Runway 28, approach, maintain 1,500 until established on the localizer. Contact New Orleans Tower on 119.5. Turn right, heading 255, climb and maintain 1,500. Cleared ILS. Runway 28, approach, maintain 1,500 until established. Tower on 119.5, orbit 2006.
Okay, so we are just above those towers. Good grief. I mean, look at that. That's like almost at my wing level. It's insane.
World travel 1109er, New Orleans departure, roger, altimeter 29992. World travel 1109er, turn left heading 150, proceed on course. Climb and maintain 13,000. Turn left heading 150, resume on navigation, climb and maintain 13,000. World travel 1109er. World travel 1109er, turn left heading 120. Turn left heading 120. World travel 1109er. World travel 1109er. Contact New Orleans departure on 125.5. 125.5. World travel 1109er.
Okay. Looks like I've picked up the glide slope. We just gotta land this thing. And not hit anything or crash in the process. That's right over here.
New Orleans departure, world travel 1. New Orleans Tower, orbit 2006 is 12 miles east, inbound ILS, runway 28, approach. Orbit 2006, New Orleans Tower, make straight in, runway 28, altimeter 29992. Make straight in, runway 28, orbit 2006.
I don't see any other aircraft. Doesn't mean it isn't. Good, we're making the turn. There's the runway right there. That's a good sign. Our speed down a little bit more. Gotta get to it. And gear down.
Orbit 2006, cleared to land, runway 28. Follow Cessna Caravan on final. Cleared to land, runway 28, orbit 2006.
see the caravan, so let's see if this works. Everything's looking good. Looks good. Everything is holding. Got a good line.
Orbit 2006, go around. Going around, orbit 2006. Orbit 2006, contact New Orleans approach on 133.15.
Don't sink. Orbit 2006.
And of course they got that.
New Orleans approach, orbit 2006. Has missed approach at New Orleans. Orbit 2006, you are 1 mile west, turn right, heading 060, climb and maintain 3000. Expect vectors ILS.
So
28 approach.
okay.
Turn right, heading 060, climb and maintain 3000. Expect vectors ILS. Runway 28 approach. Orbit 2006. New Orleans approach. Orbit 7544. IFR to Mike 52. Ready to copy. Orbit 2006. Turn right, heading 090. Orbit 7544 is cleared to Mike 52. Airport as filed. Climb and maintain 1000. Departure frequency is 133.15. Squawk 6024. Clearance void 30 minutes from now. Turn right, heading 090. Orbit 2006. Orbit 7544, cleared to
No, that was
Mike
unfortunate,
52.
but
Airport
hey,
is
that's what
filed.
happens.
Climb and maintain 1000. Departure is
Must have not had the runway
133.15.
cleared.
Squawk 6024. Clearance void 30 minutes from now. Orbit 7544, readback correct?
Yeah, we'll try that again. I mean, we were right on the runway. Oh well, that happens. I mean, I didn't even see the Grand Caravan. There he is, right there. Oh, we must have passed him. He must have been going so slow, we must have passed him and I didn't see it. Because when I saw him before, he was at like 1,000 or something away, you know, from an altitude standpoint. So that's why he wasn't on the runway. He had clearance ahead of us, but we somehow went right by him. Luckily, we didn't hit him. So Usually I see them if he was there. I don't know. That was weird. I thought he had already touched down. Of course, I didn't hear the radio about him to, clear and turn next taxiway. So that was just a bizarre, go around scenario there. But we did it. We didn't. Nobody got hurt. At least yet. We haven't landed yet. Let's see. Yep. So we're gonna have to scooch on out through here. Or we won't get to about right around here. We'll make a turn. Well, that was exciting.
Orbit 2006, turn left heading 060. Turn left heading 060. Orbit 2006.
So then let's turn out and then turn back in. Looks like a bridge. It's a long bridge. Oops. Let's go look over here. Look at the bridge. See if there's any cars on it. Nope. That's a long bridge. I don't know if that's a real bridge in real life. It's just added that there. Hopefully. Start making a right-hand turn, lower altitude, and retry this approach. Our approach was good. Everything was good about the approach, just had a wave off. Here's where we want to land, right over here.
Orleans departure, orbit 7544 is climbing through 600 for 1000. Orbit 7544, New Orleans departure, roger, altimeter 2992. Orbit 7544, turn right heading 015, resume on navigation, climb and maintain 11000. Turn right heading 015,
call to turn
resume
right.
on navigation,
Probably
climb and
decrease our
maintain
altitude.
11000. Orbit 7544. Orbit 7544. Contact
Well, we gotta make a turn,
approach
so.
on 124.6. 124.6. Orbit 7544.
Have to transition all the way out of Bravo airspace before I can make my turn to come back in and land. A little bit of turbulence right there. I just don't want to have to come close to those radio towers. Those were really high. Boy, it's getting windy out here.
Orbit 2006. Turn right heading 165. Turn right heading 165. Orbit 2006.
Come across over here. Just gonna literally make a big U-turn. Well, all things considered, though, gorgeous day for flying.
Orbit 2006. Turn right heading 195. Turn right heading 195. Orbit 2006.
Can't get it. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Did not want to do that. Oh, be quiet. There we go. So we're going to come up here, and make another right turn, and hopefully this time and land this bird. Kind of where I wish I had like an autopilot, or not autopilot, a co-pilot, because there's so many knobs and switches to try and hit and change at the same time. I mean, you can do it, you know, if you pause the game, you can do it, but I know that there are some other that I've wanted to start experimenting with some other autopilot, not autopilot, ATC type things. I know there's one that includes also a co-pilot feature where you can have them handle things like lights and whatnot, gear, engines. Of course, at that point, you're almost like, what's the point of flying? So I don't know. We should be getting ready to make a turn in about 1 minute. Looks like we'll stay on the 3,000 altitude, my guess is, and just intercept the glide slope from there, which is fine. So, yeah, a little bit longer of a ride than I was anticipating for our Clemson football team, but we'll get them down safe and sound and ready to beat Bama.
Orbit 2006, you are 20 miles eastern right, heading 255, descend and maintain 1,500. Cleared ILS. Runway 28, approach, maintain 1,500 until established on the localizer. Contact New Orleans Tower on 119.5. Turn right, heading 255, descend and maintain 1,500. Cleared ILS. Runway 28, approach, maintain 1,500 until established. Tower on 119.5, orbit 2006. New Orleans Tower, orbit 2006 is 19 miles east, inbound ILS, runway 28, approach. Orbit 2006, New Orleans Tower, speak straight in, runway 28, altimeter 2992. Fly straight in, runway 28, orbit 2006.
There we go. Slow ourselves down just a little bit. Good. We're on the approach, should be anyways. Let's see, we should have it click over and intercept it. There it goes. And hopefully we don't have a go around this time. Of course, I don't see any aircraft, knock on wood, in the vicinity. Okay. See the runway ahead. It's right there. Right there. Speed brakes just a little bit there. Okay. Some full flaps there. Oh, hush. There we go. All right. There's the runway. That's good. There's that. Flaps are down. Gear is down. There we are. Glide slope is coming down here.
Orbit 2006, cleared to land.
Thank you.
Runway 28. Cleared to land. Runway 28.
This time it should not have an issue.
2006.
Let's see, sending a little bit faster than I would like. Okay. Picking this back up here. Good. Speed's coming down, that's what I want. Things looking okay this time. Glide slope looks good. Speed looks good. Kill the auto throttle, the autopilot, speed hold, and everything in just a minute. And hopefully we can make a smooth landing. Okay, coming in, everything is looking very good. A little bit high, but that's okay. Good line.
New Orleans Tower, world travel 987 is 17 miles east. Inbound ILS, runway 28, approach. World travel 987, New Orleans Tower, fly straight in, runway 28, altimeter 992. Fly straight in, runway 28, world travel 987. Orbit 2006.
There we go.
Next taxiway.
Whew. Alright, let's see how that landing looked. Don't think it was too bad. Nice and slow, full dirty formation. Oh, look at the sun just cresting the outside of the aircraft. That's really nice. Going right through the tip of the aircraft there. Felt a little bit heavy once I had turned the autopilot off. That probably had something to do with the pitch trim. Yeah, see right there? I wanted to dip the nose a little bit, so I had to pull back a little bit more on the stick than I thought I was going to need to. Yep, right there. Looks like it was an okay landing. No tail strike there. So there's the full reverse thrust there. So, well, I hope you enjoyed this flight as I took the Clemson football team down to New Orleans, and hopefully they can do well against Alabama and make it a repeat for them this year. And if they win, then what I'll do is I'll take them on a flight over to the championship game, and if not, we'll have to take another flight back to Greenville Spartanburg. But until next time, this is your captain signing off, and go Tigers.